On the 9th of November, 1989, huge crowds from West and East Germany gathered around the crumbling Berlin Wall, celebrating the end of 28 years under an oppressive regime. As crowds cheered, it was easy to overlook the vigorous debate and careful diplomacy that went into this fight for freedom. Without the Allies' diplomatic contribution, the Berlin Wall would have had a very different ending, if at all. This peaceful event sent a revolutionary wave across Eastern Europe, sparking further uprising against communism. The long-term impacts of this rebellion would deeply affect the people of East Germany as they wrestled with new ideology and the ensuing inter-country tension. After Communist Germany's defeat in World War II in 1945, Germany was split in two, with the capitalist Allies in the West and the Soviet Union's Socialist East. Multiple issues arose for East Germany, such as public discontent leading to protests, and a larger issue, citizens emigrating from the strict communist East Germany. In 1953, the government put an end to this by closing down the border. However, there was a flaw. Citizens could still leave East Germany by traveling to the open West Berlin, and from there flee to anywhere they desired. From 1949 until 1961, 3.5 million, 20% of the population, left East Berlin. The majority of them were young and well educated. This was a growing crisis for East Germany, so they made a powerful diplomatic decision, and in 1961, the Berlin Wall was built. The wall was erected suddenly on August 12, 1961, separating families, changing futures, restricting citizens, and causing distress. At schools, similar to the Chinese Cultural Revolution, students were told that the Berlin Wall represented progress, protecting the people from the negative influence of the West. However, many people contested the Soviets' controversial act to build the wall, and consequently were harshly punished by the East German secret police, known as Stasi. Most attempts to debate from the people of East Germany itself failed, and were met with a heavy hand by the East German government. Methods used were abusive imprisonment, strategic maneuvers to make one's future difficult, and in severe cases, death. The heavily guarded Berlin Wall's border patrol was given the shoot-to-kill order, Schussbefehl, from the government. These two facts, public disagreement, and guards' power and freedom, led to at least 140 people dead as they tried to escape the restrictive city of East Berlin. However, 5,000 successfully defected, utilizing tunneling, ramming, swimming, and other creative ideas. As a result of the growing debates and resentment regarding the presence of the wall, there was a clear need for diplomacy between the East and West. In 1969, Willy Brandt, Chancellor of West Germany, created the policy New Ostpolitik, described by him as a policy of small steps, as well as change through rapprochement. Brandt decided that it was in the West's best interest to reduce the huge tensions between the East and West. His goal was to ease these relations and clarify the situation in Berlin. This was achieved 2 years later, in 1971, with the Quadripartite Pact and the previous Treaty of Moscow, focusing on non-violence and aggression. Chancellor Brandt was able to compromise and negotiate with the Eastern Bloc, which paved the way for later German-German agreements and the reunification of Germany in 1990. Another important figure was U.S. President Ronald Reagan. On June 12, 1987, Reagan made his tear down this wall speech, in which he was able to motivate and inspire the people, as well as add backing from the Allies to the debate for freedom from the Soviet Union.
Mr. Gorbachev, open this
In addition
gate.
to this, Reagan managed to bond and affiliate with communist politician Mikhail Gorbachev. Because of the two leaders' relationship, Reagan was able to influence Gorbachev to work with the Allies. Using his government position and political power to his advantage, Gorbachev helped the Allies reduce the tensions between the two Germanys and prevent dangerous intimidation and fear of the West that could have led to another big war. Because of these and other diplomatic actions, when the wall came tumbling down in 1989, and communism was on its last legs in East Germany, the Soviet regime did not panic and intervene with their guns blazing. Knowing this was a possible outcome, the Western diplomats did the best they could to quickly tear down the wall and help the Eastern citizens while staying alert and ready. A perfect example were the weeks that followed the ending of the Berlin Wall, as 1.4 million East Germans packed their bags, leaving for the West. The Allies acknowledged that this event was a threat to global stability, as the East might panic and react in fear. West Berlin Mayor Walter Momper took action and urged citizens through television to stay home and not give the violent-prone Soviet regime a reason to act. If people like Willy Brandt and Mayor Momper had sat back, the outcome of the public protests would have most likely led to the government executing violent actions. At 7 p.m. on the 9th of November 1989, a pressured East German government official, Günter Strabowski, accidentally gave the sudden news of the immediate and full opening of the Berlin Wall. This action led to a monumental night in which events escalated quickly, eventually leading to the downfall of communism. East Germany's original plan was to gradually open up the borders, but because of the diplomatic strategies and actions that were taken, the government was stuck in an extremely tight situation, as diplomats neatly carved out their ideal ending of the current circumstances. That night, soon after the press conference was over, Berliners yelled, open the gate," at the border guards, who were currently unaware of the news. In response to the sudden uprising, the border guards opened up the gate. This was a moment of happiness for both parts of Germany, and finally the hopes of all their actions of debate and diplomacy were fulfilled. In the following few weeks, 1.4 million East Germans began moving to the West, leaving their traumatic past behind them.
The police are making no attempt to stop people, the gates have been thrown open, and thousands of people are pouring over to take a look at a West, in some cases their first look, and the elation is enormous.
As soon as the wall fell, change began to happen for East Germany, starting with a decline in population. Quality of life for East Germans changed as they were introduced to society in the rest of the world, and many were excited with the new opportunities and availability of items. However, as the weeks went on, they began to feel overwhelmed. With the West capitalism, they had power, they were free, but it was difficult to find jobs which previously had been provided for them. This factor caused the unemployment rate to rise drastically, from 0 to 16%. The Easterners battled to suddenly keep up with all the new fashion, trends, and technology. This struggle was deeply misunderstood by the West. As a result, the term moaning Easterners developed, reflecting their perception of the East as ungrateful, needy, and demanding. The East felt that their struggles were misinterpreted, and called them know-it-all Westerners. The political reunification of East and West Germany was successful and speedy, but the realignment of the people was harsh and devastating. Living as a divided country and only hearing rumors and propaganda for a whole 28 years would have this effect on any country. This successful, peaceful event in history was an innovation in world politics, inspiring and pushing the citizens of other communist countries such as Romania and Czechoslovakia to rebel against the government, starting uprisings and revolutionary movements. These actions caused the end of many communist regimes and eventually led to the defeat of the USSR by the USA in the Cold War. However, unlike in Berlin, Romania did not have the negotiations, agreements, dialogue, and ties that took place in Germany. Because of the lack of diplomacy in Romania, the revolution ended in violence, illuminating the importance and value of diplomacy in the fall of the Berlin Wall.